Yeah, we're grand now, Rebecca. Thanks.
You can see them. Okay, cool.
Yeah, they're the maximized section now. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, as I was saying, my name's Rebecca. I'm currently an intern at Intel. So, a little bit about me first. So, I'm a third-year software systems development student at WIT from Waterford, based in Waterford. I'm about 5 minutes down the road from me right now as we're talking. I have an interest in software-based programming in particular, so no interest in hardware for me at all. And one of the misconceptions I had about Intel before I came here was that it was all kind of hardware-based programming or work with kind of microchips and microprocessors and stuff like that, but that's actually not the case at all. Intel do plenty of other work in other areas as well. So I started my internship here at the end of May, and I'll be here until the middle of January. And it is fully remote work from home at the moment, just with COVID and everything like that. But hopefully, as you'll see from my slides, that hasn't had any negative impact on me socially or productivity-wise either. So a little bit about my team. I'm on the DPDK team, or Data Plane Development Kit. To put it really simply, what DPDK does is make the internet go faster. That's what we kind of say to people who aren't familiar with it. It's a huge open source project with contributors from not just Intel, but other companies as well. And more specifically, then I'm on the crypto team. But to be honest, the only difference between the sub teams is kind of the different terms and function names that you'd have to kind of get used to, but in general, it's all just kind of programming and all the same idea. So going into this team, I had no idea about low-level programming or packet processing, very little cryptography and everything. So that didn't matter at all. Everyone kind of comes in at different levels, but even if you come in completely blind, like no one's going to know everything, and you will learn, you'll pick it up as you go along. So just very briefly about the kind of support system we have for interns. So every intern coming in has their own buddy, and a buddy is kind of someone who's been there a couple of years, not a senior developer or anything like that. They still remember what it's like to be new. They kind of help you get settled in. They know the kind of problems and questions that you'll have, and you can go to them with pretty much anything. So my buddy, they kind of matched me up with someone as well that I'd have similar background to. So my buddy is an ex applied computing student here at WIT and from more as well. So there's a good few people from WIT and Intel as well that you'd kind of come across. You'd meet regularly with your manager, who'd make sure that you're getting the most out of your internship and upskilling everywhere where you need. And then you'll also get help across from your team. You'll have a tech lead who will be helpful for any technical queries, senior developers who'll kind of volunteer help as well if you're stuck. And outside of that, we have an interns forum as well, where we kind of all the DPDK interns will meet for like an hour every week and just talk about the work we're doing and help each other out if we have any problems. So I'm not going to go too much into this. I don't want to bore the brains off you, but just very briefly, what kind of work I've been doing so far. One of the advantages to work in open source is that I can literally pull out a link and show everyone all the work that I have been up to. So for future employers looking to see my work, I can literally show them a list there and they can go in and have a look at code changes. So these are all my code contributions to DPDK so far. So I've been doing a good bit of new hire project at the start, which is kind of the ramp up, the training for DPDK, just a series of tasks to get you set up with DPDK, familiar with it and familiar with different key concepts like packet functions and stuff like that. Then I went on to do a bit of testing, validation, running unit tests for our new crypto dev features ahead of the 2108 release. I implemented some cryptography statistics on a program we use called telemetry for performance testing. I'm currently working on unit test refactoring, which is just changing the way we run our unit tests on our crypto features. A good bit of code change involved in that, good bit of programming, which is kind of what I'm here for. And I've also been chipping in on different bug fixes and defects for our new stable 2111 release. So a huge advantage of doing your internship during the summer months here at Intel, which I definitely recommend if you are available for the summer as well as your flexible semester, is you get to partake in extra intern activities like the STEM challenge and intern talks. So the STEM challenge is a competition amongst all interns where you're kind of divided into groups of 5 or 6 and you're each given a mission statement and you have 10 weeks then to come up with a product to match that mission statement. And at the end of the 10 weeks, you present your product to a panel of judges, and there's prizes then for first and second place. So our challenge, I was on Team Mars, and our challenge was to help bring a restaurant services online. So we came up with this menu filtering web application called Sived, and we actually won first place as well, which was always a good bonus when you get something at the end of it. But even if you didn't, it was a great chance to get to know people from other backgrounds, get to know the other interns from like UCC, GMIT, UL, all those kind of places that you wouldn't normally come across. And it's also a great chance to bring in something that you're interested in outside of your daily tasks. So, for example, I was a front-end engineer on Sived, whereas DPD kind of back-end, low-level programming. So I got to have a balance of front-end and back-end for those 10 weeks while the STEM challenge was on, which was nice. You also have intern talks, which is basically every intern gives a quick 10-minute presentation to the rest of site just on the work that they've done and a little bit about themselves. And that's just a good opportunity to boost your confidence and practice your presentation skills while also showcasing the work that you've been doing. So just to get away from the technical stuff for a minute, some of the other stuff that goes on inside of Intel, we have a sports and social club, which kind of hosts different events, classes, fantasy football, and then other things like we had a bingo night there over the summer, and they sent out like cocktail making kits to everyone. So yeah, you got to make like 4 of whatever cocktail you chose and drink that for the bingo night. So it was a bit of fun. We got sent a picnic hamper worth like over €250 at the start of summer as well, with all goodies like wine and biscuits and a good picnic basket and blanket and stuff like that. We have interns tea and game on Friday for the interns specifically. So interns tea is like a half-an-hour call we do every day, just where the interns get to chat and get to know each other. And Game on Friday then is an hour every Friday afternoon. We get together and play some online games. If you were on site, it'd probably be slightly different activities, but there would be time there designated just to getting to know the other interns and kind of chillaxing a little bit during the day. There's also INCO reps, which are kind of like student council reps for the interns. They represent the interns to the higher ups and express any concerns or relay any messages, all that kind of stuff. We have a relocation bonus, which is relevant to all of you guys here in WIT. So if you are based outside of Shannon, you're entitled to this relocation bonus, which is an extra, it's about €1,200 on top of your first paycheck, regardless of whether you physically relocate to Shannon or not. So I got it just from working at home. But if you did think about relocating to Shannon, that would be a really helpful bonus just for getting you set up if you needed a deposit for anything, getting you on your feet for your first couple of weeks or so. We also have about 5 other bonuses during the year that interns are entitled to, quarterly bonuses, and we have a referral bonus as well, quite a generous referral bonus. And finally, then my favorite perk, we have a recognition system here at Intel, which is kind of like an incentive for working really hard. So if you do a good job at something, someone else can recognize you. It could be your manager, it could be another intern, it could be absolutely anyone at all that you're working with. If they recognize you, a certain amount of money, depending on how significant that thing is that you did, a certain amount of money gets added to your own Intel debit card. So we all get sent these special debit cards. They work the exact same as normal debit cards. You can use them online or in store or for whatever you want, it doesn't matter. And as well as that, you can recognize anyone as well and put money on their card, and it's no money out of your pocket or out of your paycheck. Intel covers the cost of that completely. So you'd be surprised how fast the recognitions kind of build up. A couple of 20s and maybe 1 or 2 50s here and there. Since I started in the end of May, I have about 500 just on my debit card. So it's a nice perk to have and a good incentive, I think. I'm not going to read these out, but here are some of the skills I've learned, some of the key skills. If I was to put them all up, the slide would be a bit unreadable. But one point I just want to bring up about this is don't be put off if you're in a team that works with a different language than you're used to. I came in knowing mainly just Java, tiny little bit of Kotlin, and I went in working with C, and to be honest, I picked it up fairly easily. Once you know one, it's fairly easy to pick up the rest of them. So that isn't an issue if you do get put into a team that doesn't work with your language. So don't worry about that. And it's always good as well to work with another language, and you can add that then to your CV, have another one on your belt. So very briefly, if any of you are interested, how do you go about becoming an intern at Intel? So just some really quick pointers just from someone who has been through the application process. But if you have any further questions or anything, definitely go to Sohail about this. Hopefully we'll have some time for questions at the end. Sohail actually interviewed me, so he'd probably be the best person to go to about this. But some brief pointers. It's a two-step process. So you submit your CV, you'll probably go through Tracy. If you submit your CV, she'll pass it directly through us. That's just the quickest way. And then you'll have one interview and you'll be called pretty soon after your interview and you'll find out whether you got it or not. So very quick process. For your CV, make sure you list all your modules results and any technical skills that you have from college, any programs you used, languages you know, just list them all because they do want to see all your modules and maybe even a quick one-line sentence what you're doing in that module. All your programs, all your languages, stuff like that. Include any technical hobby or project you have extra as well as college, but do be prepared to talk a lot about it. Don't include anything you're not sure about, but it is a good conversation starter if you're into PC building or something like that. And for the interview, then they will try to tease your brain. So what I mean by that is they're going to ask you questions that they don't expect you to know the answer to. And what they want you to see is that you don't panic and not come up with anything. They want to see you try and have some sort of train of thought to figure it out. If you have to take out pen and paper, if you have to think out loud for a little bit, even if you have no idea, just give it your best shot. And if you get it completely wrong, if you go in the opposite direction of the right answer, it doesn't matter as long as they can see you're trying and you have a clear step to your thinking and logic there. And the last thing then is if you don't know something, be honest, don't bluff your way through a question. So I must have said I don't know at least 5 or 6 times in my interview, and that's perfectly okay because you're not going to know everything. And the last thing they want to see is you saying you know about something and then they're going to catch you out when you start talking about it. They will be able to tell when you don't know what you're saying. So just if you don't know something, you haven't met something in college, just be honest and say, no, I've never heard of that. I don't know what that is. And yeah, so that's all from me, guys. Hopefully you found some of that useful. Hopefully we've some time for questions now, but thanks everyone for listening, and thanks to Tracy and Sohail as well for giving me the chance to come here today.
Actually, sorry. Yeah, thanks a million, Rebecca. Actually, on Sohail, we don't have time for questions because there's people waiting to get in, and I'd say
no problem.
Okay.
I just want to give a quick thank you to Rebecca and Tracy and everybody present in the room for listening to us, and Maria for letting us use this slot. Any questions, please go to Tracy. Tracy knows how to contact me, and there's no silly question or there's no small or big question. Just let us know. Our intern process has already begun. If you are interested in it, just drop your CV to Tracy and she'll get in touch with me, and I'll get in touch with you then after that.
Yeah, lads, thanks a million. That was brilliant, and sorry for all the trouble earlier. And thanks for sticking with it.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Peter, thanks for your laptop. Any questions on anything, send them to me. If you don't want to send me the question directly, maybe you could ask your class rep to gather questions and then send them in a kind of an anonymous fashion, and then I can post up answers on Moodle, unless the person thinks that these questions are right. Is that okay?
Thank you, Tracy. We'll log out
Thanks,
now.
guys.
Really
Thanks,
appreciate
Rebecca.
that.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks a million, guys. Okay.